Hello guys, my name is Bahroz and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'll be sharing with you sample practice questions for the Hogan assessment, and I'll show you how you should think about answering them in the smartest and most effective way possible. Now, unlike other aptitude tests, the Hogan test is not about speed and it's not about right or wrong answers. It's about personality assessment. What companies are trying to understand is how you behave at work and how you behave under pressure. So in this video, what I'll do is walk you through some sample Hogan style questions, explain what the question is actually testing, and share smart tips on how you should go about answering them and not accidentally hurt your choices. Now, the most important thing when it comes to Hogan assessment is self-awareness and consistency. These two things are super important. So when I'll be explaining the questions, I'll be talking about them more often. Unlike other exams, you cannot really study for Hogan, right? So what you can do essentially is understand the format, understand what companies are measuring, and avoid common mistakes that candidates are making regularly. Now, many people damage their chances simply because they misunderstand and they are not ready to answer the questions the way they should be answered. That will increase your chances and score. There is a way to smartly answer the question in a way that you eventually end up getting the role, getting the job, and clearing the test. Note, I previously made a video explaining what the Hogan assessment is, why companies use it, and how it is structured. So I highly recommend watching that before diving into these sample questions. I also have other videos on my channel covering interview preparation, leadership assessments, and career growth. So make sure you check out those videos as well. Now, before we start the sample questions, it's important to understand how Hogan questions are structured. So most of the questions will fall into three common formats: agree, disagree statements, yes, no personality statements, and third is forced choice questions, where you pick the option that best describes you. Now let's go through a few examples. Question 1. I rarely let stress affect my performance at work. Okay, so right away, your instinct might be to say true because it sounds good, but let me tell you why you need to think before you just click. The adjustment scale is measuring your emotional stability. Companies want someone who can remain composed and effective even when pressure is high, deadlines, difficult stakeholders, unexpected problems. That is a core competency for any serious role. So if you answer false here, you are essentially telling the employer that you fall apart under stress. That is a red flag. You want to answer true. Now, the Hogan has consistency checks built in. Similar questions will appear in different forms later in the test, so whatever you pick here, you need to stay consistent throughout. If you say stress does not affect your performance, you cannot later say you find high pressure situations draining. Pick true and stay true to it. Question 2. I always finish tasks before starting new ones. This question is measuring your self-discipline and conscientiousness. The prudence scale is essentially asking, are you organized? Are you thorough? Do you follow through? Now, here is where it gets interesting. The word always might make you hesitate. In real life, nobody always finishes one task before starting another. But remember, this test is not asking what literally happens 100% of the time. It is asking about your dominant behavioral tendency. For most professional roles, especially anything in operations, project management, consulting, or finance, employers want someone who is disciplined and methodical. Answering true tells them you are someone who does not leave loose ends, who finishes what they start, who is reliable. Answer true here. Question 3. I feel energized after spending time in large social settings. The sociability scale measures how extroverted you are, how much you draw energy from being around people versus preferring to work alone. Now, here is the nuance. The right answer depends somewhat on the role you are applying for. If you are going into sales, business development, client management, PR, or any customer-facing role, you absolutely want to answer strongly agree or agree. Companies need to know you thrive in social environments. If you are applying for a more independent role like a research analyst or back-end developer, a moderate answer like neither is acceptable. But here is the thing. Most roles today require collaboration, presentations, and stakeholder engagement. So defaulting to agree is almost always the safer strategic choice. Do not pick disagree or strongly disagree unless your role genuinely requires zero social interaction. Go with agree. Question 4. I enjoy exploring ideas even when they have no practical application. This question is measuring intellectual curiosity, how much you love learning, exploring, and thinking beyond what is immediately in front of you. For innovation-driven roles, strategy, R&D, consulting, or any environment that values creative problem solving, you want to answer agree or strongly agree. This tells the employer you are intellectually engaged, you go beyond the surface, and you bring fresh thinking to challenges. The psychological insight here is this. People who score high on inquisitive tend to be excellent long-term thinkers and are often the ones who spot opportunities and solve problems others cannot see. Companies love that. So unless you are in a very execution-heavy role where pure delivery is all that matters, lean towards agree here. Question 5. Which best describes you? A. I carefully think through every decision before acting. B. I move quickly and decisively even with incomplete information. Now, this is a classic forced choice question, and both options sound like strong qualities, which is exactly the point. The test is forcing you to reveal your natural style. Here is how you work through this using the elimination approach. Ask yourself which option is worse in the context of the role you are applying for. Option B, moving quickly with incomplete information, can sound like decisive leadership, but it can also signal impulsiveness or lack of diligence. Option A, careful thinking before acting, signals thoroughness and discipline. For most corporate and professional roles, especially anything involving risk, compliance, data, or client responsibility, option A is the stronger answer. It maps directly to high prudence, which companies value. However, and this is important, if you are applying to a startup, a fast-paced sales environment, or any role where speed of execution is a key requirement, option B becomes more competitive. Know your role before you answer. When in doubt, go with option A. Now, an important call out. The most important thing here is to practice. The more you practice, the better you'll get. I have sifted through the web and found one specific website with a sample test that is as close to the real test as possible. I will leave the link to that website in the description of this video. While practicing individual questions is great, like you can see this video, you can go on the web and find some practice questions. It is more important for you to familiarize yourself with the format and the pressure of the actual exam. So hence it is important to go through a sample test online, which is a complete test and mimics the original test. So this website that I share does that for you. Question 6. My enthusiasm for projects can fade quickly once challenges appear. The excitable scale measures emotional volatility. Specifically, do you blow hot and cold? Do you start things with massive energy and then abandon them when it gets hard? Companies are deeply worried about this. They have seen it before. The candidate who interviews brilliantly, starts the job full of energy, and then disengages the moment obstacles appear. Your answer here should be false. You are signaling that your commitment is sustained, not dependent on the initial excitement. Now, you might be thinking, but what if this is genuinely true for me? Here is the coaching point. Everyone loses some enthusiasm when challenges appear. That is human. But the question is whether your enthusiasm fades or whether you push through anyway. If you push through, which is what professionals do, then answering false is accurate. Answer false. Question 7. I prefer to wait until I'm completely certain before making an important decision. The cautious scale measures risk aversion. Being thorough and careful is good, but waiting for complete certainty before acting is a problem in corporate life. Why? Because in business, you almost never have complete information. Waiting for perfect data means you miss windows, lose competitive advantage, and frustrate your team and your stakeholders. Answer false here. You are telling the employer that while you are careful and considered, you do not let the need for certainty paralyze you into inaction. You make well-informed decisions even with some ambiguity. That is the mark of a confident senior-level professional. Question 8. I find it hard to disagree with my manager even when I think they are wrong. This one catches a lot of people. On the surface, it sounds like loyalty and respect for authority, which seems good, right? But the dutiful scale is actually measuring whether you have the backbone to push back, to challenge upwards, to speak up when something is not right. Organizations have collapsed because employees were too afraid to tell the boss the truth. You want to show that while you respect authority and work collaboratively, you are confident enough to voice a contrary opinion professionally when the situation demands it. Companies, especially the good ones, want people who can manage upwards, challenge assumptions, and prevent bad decisions. So it's best to answer false here. Question 9. I am more talented than most people I have worked with. Now we are getting into the bold scale, which measures arrogance and overconfidence. This is a trap question. Your gut might say agree because you want to come across as confident, but there is a line between confidence and arrogance, and this statement crosses it. Saying you are more talented than most colleagues is a red flag to employers. It suggests you dismiss other people's contributions, you are hard to give feedback to, and you may overestimate your own judgment. Answer disagree or strongly disagree. You are signaling self-awareness, humility, and the ability to recognize value in your colleagues. You can be confident without needing to position yourself as superior to everyone around you. Companies love confident people. They do not love arrogant ones. So go with disagree. Question 10. I believe most people have a hidden agenda even when they appear helpful. The skeptical scale measures distrust and cynicism. This is a huge derailer because it affects team dynamics, collaboration, and your ability to build relationships. A highly skeptical person assumes bad intent, questions every offer of help, and makes colleagues walk on eggshells around them. That is toxic in any work environment. Answer strongly disagree or disagree. You want to come across as someone who gives people the benefit of the doubt, who builds trust readily, and who does not bring unnecessary suspicion to professional relationships. Yes, healthy skepticism is useful in business contexts like due diligence and risk management, but applying it to your own colleagues as a default is a red flag. So pick disagree. Now, another important call out, which is in case you find any value from this video, please hit the like button. It keeps me motivated to create better content for you. And also make sure to subscribe to the channel because on this channel, I post content pertaining to how you can achieve success in your career. Question 11. I naturally draw attention in a room and I enjoy it. The colorful scale measures attention seeking and dramatic behavior. For certain roles like public speaking, entertainment, motivational leadership, moderate scoring here is fine. But in most corporate settings, someone who always needs to be the center of attention can become disruptive, dominate conversations, and frustrate colleagues who also need space to contribute. It's best to pick neither agree nor disagree. Why? Because you do not want to score too high on colorful, in which signals drama and distractibility, but you also do not want to score too low, which might signal you are disengaged or a weak communicator. A balanced middle answer says, I am a confident, engaging communicator, but I do not need the spotlight to feel good about myself. That is the sweet spot. Question 12. People sometimes find my ideas interesting but hard to put into practice. The imaginative scale measures eccentricity and unconventional thinking. Here, scoring very high here is a derailer because it suggests your ideas, while creative, consistently miss the real world. Employers worry about people who are all concept and no execution, or visionaries who cannot land the plane. You want to signal that your ideas are both innovative and executable. You bring creativity, but you also stay grounded in what is practical and deliverable. The best professionals in any field can generate bold ideas and translate them into real outcomes. That is what you are communicating. So, pick disagree. Question 13. Which best describes you? A. I enjoy bending the rules occasionally. It keeps things interesting. B. I hold myself and others to very high standards, sometimes too high. Okay, so both of these have a flaw built in, and that is intentional. Option A says you bend rules, and option B says you hold standards too high sometimes. Let us go through elimination. Bending the rules, even occasionally, is a non starter in most corporate environments. It signals disregard for process, ethics, risk, and governance problems. Especially in finance, legal, healthcare, or any regulated industry, this answer can be disqualifying. Option B, holding too high a standard, is a challenge, but it is a much more acceptable one. In fact, many high-performing organizations actively want people who push for excellence even when it makes people uncomfortable. The self-awareness shown by saying sometimes too high actually makes you look more mature and credible. Hence, go with option B. Question 14, which best describes you? A. I tend to keep my emotions private and prefer working independently. B. I cooperate with others but can quietly disengage when I feel unappreciated. This is a genuinely tough one because neither option is ideal, and that is the point of a question like this. It is trying to surface your least bad derailer. Option B describes passive aggressiveness, that is cooperating on the surface but mentally checking out when things do not go your way. That is toxic behavior and a serious red flag for team dynamics. Option A is keeping emotions private and preferring independent work. This is a much more socially acceptable tendency. Many great professionals are introverted or emotionally reserved, and that does not make them bad teammates. It is a style difference, not a character flaw. Go with option A. It is the less damaging of the two and signals professionalism and self-containment rather than resentment. Question 15. It is important to me that my contributions are publicly acknowledged. The recognition scale measures how much you are driven by external validation, visibility, and status. Here is the strategic coaching point. If you score very high on recognition, companies might worry you are motivated purely by ego rather than by genuine commitment to the work and the team. If you score too low, they might wonder if you have the ambition and drive to push for results. The sweet spot is to pick agree, not strongly agree. What you are saying is, yes, I appreciate recognition. I am human. It motivates me. But I am not the kind of person who falls apart or disengages when I do not get a standing ovation. That shows healthy self motivation. Now, here I want to call out the reason I have command on the subject is because I coach and mentor professionals preparing for leadership interviews and corporate assessments, including personality tests like Hogan. So, if you're interested in one on one coaching with me, you can book a session using the link that I will leave in the description of this video. Question 16. I find work most meaningful when it has a positive impact on other people's lives. The altruistic scale measures how much you are driven by purpose, service, and contributing to something bigger than yourself. For roles in education, healthcare, nonprofit, CSR, or any organization that leads with a mission driven culture, scoring high here is extremely valuable. It tells the employer you are not just there for the paycheck. Even in commercial organizations, high altruism scores are valued because they signal customer empathy, team orientation, and long term thinking over short term self interest. Pick strongly agree or agree. This is one of the few questions on the Hogan where being bold and decisive in your answer is a good thing. Question 17. I measure career success largely by the financial rewards it brings. The commerce scale measures how money motivated you are. For roles in sales, investment banking, trading, or anywhere KPIs are heavily financial, scoring high here is fine. It shows you are commercially driven. But for roles in HR, operations, public sector, or purpose led organizations, answering strongly agree here is a mismatch. It suggests you only care about your earnings and might leave the moment a higher paying option appears. The strategic answer is neither or agree depending on the role. Neither says financial reward matters to me, but it is one of several things I care about. That is a mature, rounded professional position. Read the room, know what the company values, and calibrate your answer accordingly. Question 18. I prefer a stable, predictable work environment over one that changes frequently. The security scale measures how much you crave structure, routine, and predictability versus how comfortable you are with ambiguity and change. For traditional hierarchical organizations or roles with well defined processes, scoring moderate to high here is fine. But for startups, consulting, fast scaling companies, or roles that explicitly require adaptability, answering agree or strongly agree is a red flag. It signals change aversion. In most modern corporate environments, organizations want people who can operate effectively in ambiguity. So, unless you are applying to a very stable, structured environment, answer disagree or neither. You want to signal I can operate effectively even when things shift. I do not need everything nailed down to perform. That is a valuable quality. Question 19. Which matters more to you in a work environment? A. Having authority and influence over decisions. B. Being part of a close, collaborative team. The power scale measures desire for control and influence, while the affiliation scale measures how much you value belonging and relationships at work. Now, both are legitimate motivators, but here is the strategic lens. Which one does the role demand? For leadership roles, management tracks, and strategy positions, option A signals the ambition and ownership mindset that the company wants in future leaders. For team based roles, project work, or collaborative environments, option B signals teamwork, cultural fit, and loyalty. If you are genuinely unsure, option B is the safer default in most contexts because it signals you are a team player over someone who needs power to feel satisfied. Companies are wary of employees who are solely motivated by authority. Question 20. Which best reflects what you value at work? A. Producing work that is elegant, creative, and visually compelling. B. Solving problems using data, research, and logical analysis. The aesthetic scale measures how much you value design, creativity, and elegance, while science measures your preference for data and analytical thinking. For roles in design, marketing, communications, or brand, option A is your answer. For roles in finance, technology, research, engineering, or operations, option B is clearly stronger. The deeper point here is alignment. Does your values profile match what the role actually requires you to do every day? If you are a data analyst who picks option A, you are creating a mismatch signal. If you are a graphic designer who picks option B, same problem. Pick the option that reflects your actual professional practice. This is a case where being honest and strategic are the same thing. Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully after watching this video, you now have a much clearer idea of what Hogan questions look like and how you should go about approaching them. Remember, Hogan is not testing your intelligence or technical skills. What it's trying to understand is how you behave at work, how you interact with others, and how you respond when pressure rises. If you find any value from this video, I appreciate if you can press the like button and also subscribe to the channel, because on this channel I post content pertaining to how you can achieve success in your career, how you can clear interviews and ace them. Thank you for watching this video.